You love your friends fiercely, but the second they leave your physical presence, they cease to exist in your mind. Months pass. No texts, no calls. Society calls you a lazy friend. Science calls this working memory triage and a lack of relational permanence. Your brain aggressively deletes inactive social tabs to save RAM for hyperfocusing. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your inability to text back isn't a flaw. It's the exact neurological mechanism that allows you to be 100% focused and totally grudge-free when you're actually in the room. Let's diagnose the out-of-sight drop. For a neurotypical brain, a social network is a continuous, low-level background hum. They can effortlessly conjure the feeling of being connected to absent friends. You do not have this background hum. For you, friendship operates on a radically different bandwidth. When someone is gone, they vanish from your active consciousness. It is a blind spot in your cognitive architecture. The deep love remains intact, but the active mental recall required to initiate a text message is systematically dismantled to conserve energy. This isn't apathy. This is the foundation of your cognitive superpower. You possess an extreme form of psychological compartmentalization. While others are paralyzed by social anxiety, constantly wondering if their friends are mad at them, you live blissfully unburdened. You don't worry that your friend hates you, because your brain simply isn't rendering them in the active conscious stream. You let go of the social bond entirely until it is environmentally relevant. This guarantees zero rumination, zero toxic overthinking, and massive cognitive reserves for the tasks immediately in front of you. To understand why this happens, we have to look at how you process presence. When a friend is physically sitting across from you, they are highly salient. They occupy your visuospatial sketchpad. They are moving, speaking, and providing real-time social dopamine. You are completely locked in, intensely empathetic, and a phenomenal listener. But the exact moment they drive away, that environmental stimulus vanishes. The dopamine plummets to zero, and without that immediate chemical reward, your brain refuses to dedicate energy to maintaining their ghost in your head. Developmental psychology defines object permanence as the understanding that things continue to exist even when hidden. But cognitive researchers have identified an adult iteration, relational permanence. This is the ability to maintain a stable emotional representation of a relationship when the person is absent. If you have an ADHD or ASD executive functioning profile, your relational permanence is deeply dormant. The knowledge of the friendship lives in long-term storage, but pulling it into active thought requires top-down executive control, a massive expenditure of resources your brain avoids at all costs. John Bowlby's attachment theory states we form internal working models of relationships. For the individual experiencing the out-of-sight drop, the internal working model of the friendship is profoundly secure, yet highly compartmentalized. Unlike anxiously attached individuals who cling to the memory of a friend to self-soothe, you require no such reassurance. Your underlying psychological security is what gives your brain permission to completely power down the relationship. You don't need the constant digital check-ins because the core bond was never actually in question. So why does sending a simple thinking of you text feel like attempting to move a mountain? It all comes down to cognitive load. Asynchronous communication, like texting, emailing, or leaving a voicemail, requires self-initiation without an environmental cue. Maintaining the thought, "I need to call Sarah today," requires you to keep a mental tab open while you navigate your daily survival. For a brain with an already constrained working memory capacity, keeping that single abstract social tab open degrades your entire system's performance. Alan Baddeley's foundational model of working memory divides the brain into components overseen by a central executive. The central executive is the boss. It directs your attention and suppresses irrelevant data. According to cognitive load theory, your RAM is strictly limited. When the cognitive load exceeds your capacity, the central executive initiates working memory triage. It ruthlessly force quits the inactive social application. It deletes the thought of your absent friend to free up essential bandwidth for whatever immediate physical task you are trying to complete. Why does your brain need to free up so much RAM? To facilitate your greatest asset, hyperfocus. Neurodivergent brains are highly specialized engines designed for intense state concentration, not low-level multitasking. When you hyperfocus on a project, your task-positive network becomes fiercely activated. But thinking about an absent friend requires the default mode network, the neural system for daydreaming and autobiographical memory. Your brain literally cannot activate both simultaneously. It kills the default mode network, so you can obsessively dive into your work. This strict triage system also distorts your relationship with time. A neurotypical person possesses a continuous internal clock. They feel the weight of a passing week, a month, a year. They instinctively realize, oh, it's been a month. I'm being a bad friend. I should reach out. You possess no such clock. When your friend walks out your door, they cross an event horizon. 3 months can evaporate, but to you, it feels like you just saw them yesterday. Dr. Russell Barkley, a leading expert on executive functioning, defines this as time blindness. Time perception is an executive function handled by the prefrontal cortex. For your specific neurology, time is not a linear, measurable spectrum. It is a harsh binary construct. There is only now and not now. Once a friend is out of your physical sight, they exist in the not now. You don't feel guilty for the silence because your internal clock literally hasn't registered that a socially unacceptable amount of time has elapsed. Living entirely in the present tense has a stunning, almost magical byproduct regarding interpersonal conflict. You are practically incapable of holding a grudge. When someone wrongs you, you get fiercely angry in the immediate moment. But once the argument ends and that person leaves your physical space, the anger evaporates into the ether. Months later, they reappear, and you greet them with unfiltered joy. People might accuse you of sweeping things under the rug. They are wrong. You just lack the cognitive hardware to maintain resentment. This lack of grudges is driven by episodic memory deficits and the fading affect bias. Cognitive psychologist Endel Tolving defined episodic memory as the recall of autobiographical events and their visceral emotions. Your semantic memory remembers the clinical fact that you argued, but your impaired episodic memory cannot conjure the feeling of the anger. The fading affect bias dictates that negative emotional payloads fade quickly. During working memory triage, the emotional sting is wiped to save RAM. Anger is a background process your brain simply refuses to run. To successfully navigate a world that demands continuous connection, you must understand your Salience Network. Salience dictates what your brain pays attention to. Your attention is driven by interest, urgency, and novelty, not importance. An absent friend, existing only as a potential text message, has incredibly low salience. Reaching out requires immense top-down energy that a dopamine-starved brain won't spend. As Dr. Barkley advises, you must make time physical. If your brain deletes what is out of sight, you must intentionally put your friends in sight. You must externalize your working memory. Keep physical photographs of your friends in your immediate workspace. This forces the Salience Network to recognize their existence in the now. Utilize automated calendar alarms to prompt a bi-weekly text. You are offloading the cognitive burden from your central executive to an external device. You don't have to remember to care, you just let the phone remember for you. Transparently psychoeducate your circle. Tell them your silence is a neurological operational style, not a reflection of their worth. When you finally do reunite with a friend after months of absolute silence, the true magic of your neurology activates. It is called the reload. Because the emotional attachment was never destroyed or diminished, it was simply archived in long-term storage, the environmental cue of your friend's face triggers an instantaneous recall. The long-term memory uploads the entire relational file straight back into your working memory. You pick up exactly where you left off, mid-sentence, with zero friction and zero awkwardness. Society demands the constant, exhausting maintenance of friendships. But science proves your method is just as valid, and often much more resilient. You offer the world the ultimate low-maintenance friendship. You do not drain people with neediness. You do not punish them for being busy or distracted. Your affection is unconditional and completely unburdened by the toxic overthinking that plagues modern relationships. When you are with someone, they are the absolute center of your universe, and that level of presence is incredibly rare. The out-of-sight drop is the necessary cost of operating a highly specialized brain. To achieve the deep, immersive presence you offer the world, whether in your work, your hobbies, or your face-to-face interactions, your brain must aggressively conserve its limited RAM. It archives relationships to protect your focus. It deletes past grievances to protect your energy. It is a highly efficient triage protocol that allows you to exist vividly and entirely in the present moment, unchained from the abstract demands of the past and future. You are not a bad friend. You are simply immune to the performative expectations of asynchronous communication. Your brain is a hyper-focused machine. The inactive tabs may be closed for months at a time, but the profound love you hold for your inner circle remains perfectly preserved on the hard drive, ready to be opened the exact moment they walk back into your physical world. You give people the gift of a clean slate every single time you see them. Stop calling yourself lazy. Stop apologizing for the way your central executive allocates cognitive resources. Society calls it a flaw, but science calls it highly efficient attentional selection. Embrace the eternal present. If you want to master this cognitive architecture, you have to lean into it. Start discovering more about your unique wiring. Build physical systems for the people you love. And protect the hyper-focused peace that comes from living entirely in the now.